She thought freedom would feel lighter, but no one warned her how heavy silence can be. Not immediately. At first, there was a rush of independence, of reclaimed space, of quiet nights. But then came the bills, the empty rooms, the realization that what she imagined life would be isn't what it became. Today, we speak gently but honestly about what many divorced women over 50 wish they had known before filing. Not to judge, but so you, or someone you love, can think deeper before stepping out that door. If this touches you, leave a quiet comment. I'm listening and learning. 1. The financial cost is deeper than expected. Many women didn't anticipate how quickly their lifestyle would change. In the first few months after filing, there's often a feeling of relief, the clean slate. But then, the numbers start arriving. The mortgage that once felt affordable with 2 incomes suddenly becomes a burden. Utilities that seemed minor when shared now consume a larger slice of her monthly budget. Even simple things like home maintenance that a husband may have quietly taken care of now require hiring professionals. Retirement savings, split down the middle, look far smaller than they did when viewed as a shared future. For many, that means working longer than expected, downsizing or delaying long-imagined dreams like travel. The financial picture she thought she understood while married often looked very different in reality, because she never truly handled it alone. This isn't about blame. It's about clarity. Many women who left marriages later admit, "I underestimated how much we accomplished together." Financial security isn't always oppressive sometimes. It's a partnership, and partnership can feel invisible until it's gone. Freedom comes with a price, and while some are ready to pay it, others are shocked to discover just how expensive independence can be when all the responsibilities fall on their shoulders. 2WO. Loneliness isn't just an empty bed. Some thought, "At least I'll finally have peace." They pictured evenings spent in calm reflection, mornings without tension, and weekends free to explore long-neglected interests. But many soon learned that silence can be heavier than conflict. The background noise of a shared life, even imperfect, often masks how much comfort there is in simply having someone there. Evenings that once included routine check-ins or idle conversation now stretch into long hours of quiet. Holidays, once filled with tradition, become reminders of absence. Loneliness isn't just about an empty bed, it's about the absence of a witness to one's life. Someone to share little moments with, a funny commercial, a memory from years ago, a comment over morning coffee. Decisions, too, can become unexpectedly heavy. Without a partner to consult, even small choices feel weightier. There's no one to say, "That sounds good," or "Maybe we wait." Many women, especially those over 50, don't anticipate this particular ache. It's not loud. It's not sharp. It's a dull, persistent hollow, the realization that independence, while empowering, can sometimes mean making every choice and facing every evening completely alone. This truth catches many women off guard. Peace without presence is not always peace. Sometimes it's just quiet. 3. Men handle post-divorce differently. One of the most surprising lessons many women report after divorce is just how differently men process and navigate the aftermath. Culturally, men are conditioned to adapt, to rebuild, to focus outward. Where she may feel an emotional void, he often fills space quickly with work, hobbies, new routines, and sometimes even new relationships. This difference isn't about who cared more, it's about how they've been taught to cope. For women who anchored much of their identity around relationship, family, and emotional connection, the absence of marriage feels profound. There's no one to nurture, no one to coordinate with, no shared rhythm to maintain. Men, on the other hand, often shift focus quickly. They return to familiar structures, the gym, work, financial goals. They rebuild, not necessarily because they are stronger, but because that's how they were taught to regain control. This can feel deeply unsettling for women who, post-divorce, suddenly see their ex seemingly thriving, dating, or appearing unaffected. Inside, she may be questioning her decision, grieving the loss of history and connection, while he appears to have moved on with ease. But appearances can be deceiving. Many men are simply compartmentalizing pain, suppressing it, or distracting themselves. Still, this contrast catches women off guard and adds a layer of confusion to their own grief. It's a truth worth acknowledging gently. Men and women grieve differently, and for many women, this difference adds to the emotional complexity of life after divorce. 4. Respect was quietly more important than she realized. Many women leave marriages pointing to communication breakdowns. They say, "We just stopped talking," or "He didn't listen anymore." But what they often discover too late is that communication isn't where relationships first break, respect is. In a healthy marriage, respect is the soil where communication can grow. It's what allows two people to speak openly, disagree gently, and trust that even conflict won't erode their bond. Without respect, words lose their meaning. Discussions become debates. Conversations turn into contests. Over time, many women didn't notice that what they were feeling wasn't just poor communication, it was a subtle erosion of mutual regard. Maybe contempt crept in slowly. Eye rolls, dismissive tones, sarcasm. Maybe respect was taken for granted as long as routines held up. And when respect fades, communication doesn't stand a chance. What surprises many women after divorce is realizing that respect, not romance, was the glue holding it all together. The tenderness of being regarded as valuable, even in moments of frustration. The courtesy of treating one another like equals, even when exhausted. After divorce, they often reflect on what they contributed to that erosion. Did I stop respecting him long before we stopped speaking? Was I treating my spouse like a partner or an obstacle? It's a difficult question, but a liberating one. Because for many, the deeper regret isn't that they lost communication, but that they didn't recognize how precious and fragile respect truly was. 5. Children don't replace a partner. The love a mother has for her children is profound, but it's not the same as companionship. Many women, after divorce, believe that their children will fill the emotional space left behind. At first, this feels true. Supportive phone calls, comforting visits, shared holidays. But children, especially adult children, have their own lives to lead, their own homes, their own relationships. What many divorced women discover is that children's love doesn't replace a partner's presence. A spouse is a daily companion, sharing meals, decisions, small talk, and silence. A partner witnesses your life in its smallest moments, the cup of tea before bed, the sigh after a long day, the quiet rituals that children may never even see. Children offer love, but not the same intimacy. They cannot be leaned on in the same way, nor should they. This realization is often accompanied by an unexpected ache. Not resentment toward their children, but a recognition of emotional distance that feels wider in the absence of a partner. And this lesson teaches something profound, that a spouse, even a flawed one, often occupies a space that no one else can fill. Love for children and companionship with a partner are different kinds of bonds, and while children may bring moments of joy and pride, they cannot replace the day-to-day warmth, the mutual support, and the shared solitude that a spouse can provide. 6. Rebuilding a social life after divorce is harder at 50+. At 30, friendships are abundant and easy to nurture. People gather naturally at work, with young families, through school events. But by 50, the landscape changes. Most peers are absorbed in their own established routines, caring for grandchildren, managing careers, or attending to aging parents. Social circles shrink. Many women leaving a marriage at this stage imagine reconnecting with friends, filling their calendars with companionship and lively conversation. But they often find that old friendships have drifted, or that friends are no longer available in the same way. The effort required to build a new social life at 50+ is more deliberate and lonelier than expected. Invitations are fewer, social energy feels different, and most gatherings revolve around couples or family units, leaving the divorced woman feeling out of place. She may join clubs or attend events, but the ease of belonging that once existed is harder to recreate. Small talk feels exhausting. Deep connections take longer to form. This is not to say it's impossible, far from it. Many women go on to cultivate rich, meaningful friendships after divorce, but they often wish they had known beforehand that rebuilding a daily, integrated social life after 50 would take patience, effort, and resilience. It's a quiet truth. Independence is beautiful, but sustaining it socially, especially later in life, requires a kind of perseverance many didn't expect. 7. Her perception of control may have been misplaced. Some women walked away from marriage feeling micromanaged, claiming they were controlled. But time and solitude have a way of clarifying the past. Many later realize that what felt like control in the moment may have simply been partnership, the natural negotiation that happens when two lives intertwine. Shared finances, joint plans, compromises on vacations, decisions about parenting. When you live alone, you face every decision yourself. The bills to pay, the repairs to schedule, the daily logistics of life. And suddenly, that control once attributed to a partner looks less like coercion and more like collaboration. She remembers how he tracked household expenses, how he suggested sticking to a budget. At the time, she felt it was restricting her freedom. Now, she notices that financial discipline brought stability and that full autonomy means full accountability. This isn't about excusing domineering behavior. Real control and coercion are destructive. But in many cases, women discover post-divorce that the structures of partnership were actually mutual guardrails, not cages. In absence, clarity blooms. What was once resented as control may have simply been a partner's way of participating, protecting, and planning. It's a humbling realization. That independence means carrying the entire load, and sometimes what felt heavy was lighter precisely because it was shared. 8. Emotional needs are harder to fill alone. In the early glow of divorce, many women feel relief. Finally, I can focus on me. No more compromising, no more emotional labor, no more managing someone else's moods. But as time passes, another truth emerges. Human beings are inherently relational. Even the most independent spirit quietly longs for witness a safe place where they can be fully seen, comforted, and celebrated. Friends may check in occasionally. Children may visit. But there's a unique comfort in having someone who simply knows, who senses your moods without explanation, who notices the subtle changes, who holds your history gently. Without that intimate companion, emotional needs are harder to meet. You may keep busy, build routines, pursue hobbies, yet there's a quiet ache at the end of the day, when there's no one to share a stray thought, no one to ask about your day's tiny victories or struggles. Many women find themselves surprised by how much this absence hurts. Not dramatically, but persistently. They realize that even flawed companionship provided emotional sustenance, a rhythm of attention, care, and recognition that's hard to replicate elsewhere. In solitude, there is peace, but also the undeniable truth that being fully alone means carrying your emotions, your celebrations, your disappointments without a partner to help hold them. 9. Sexual disconnect. Often masked, deeper disconnect. Many women cite intimacy issues as a primary reason for divorce. We stopped being close. The passion died. But after divorce, in moments of quiet reflection, some women come to an unexpected realization. The bedroom was not where their relationship truly faltered. It was merely where the symptoms became obvious. Physical disconnection often masks a much deeper emotional distance. The touch fades only after the bond starts to crack elsewhere in respect, conversation, shared dreams, and daily kindness. In retrospect, they see that long before the physical intimacy declined, small resentments began accumulating. A dismissive remark here, a forgotten anniversary there, a growing sense of living parallel lives instead of intertwined ones. Intimacy didn't cause the estrangement, it reflected it. And when a woman leaves a marriage hoping that regaining freedom will restore her sense of desire or vibrancy, she may be confronted with another hard truth. Desire isn't simply about novelty or freedom, it's about emotional safety, trust, and shared vulnerability. The loneliness she once blamed on lack of passion was often seeded much earlier in communication gaps, mismatched priorities, and emotional neglect that neither partner knew how to repair. Post-divorce, she realizes that solving intimacy would have required rebuilding emotional closeness, not just reigniting sparks. It's a powerful but painful insight. Sexual disconnect is rarely just about sex. It's about how two people feel seen, valued, and cared for long before they ever touch. 10. The grass is rarely greener. Before divorce, many women imagine a brighter, freer life. They picture mornings without tension, evenings filled with self-care, and an open road of possibilities. In their minds, being single after years of compromise and frustration feels like the ultimate reward. But reality reveals something more sobering. The grass isn't always greener. In fact, sometimes it's thinner, patchier, and lonelier. New relationships, if they come at all, often bring less excitement than expected. At 50 plus, dating is different. People carry more baggage, heal more slowly, and trust less easily. The innocence and spontaneity of youth are gone, replaced by caution and comparison. Even casual companionship can feel draining. The effort to explain your history, your preferences, your life story to someone who hasn't shared any of it. Some women discover that solitude, while free of marital friction, comes with unexpected demands. The full burden of financial management, home maintenance, and emotional resilience falls squarely on their shoulders. Many quietly admit to themselves that, while marriage felt heavy at times, single life carries a different and equally challenging weight. This isn't to say staying in a broken marriage is better, but it's a truth worth acknowledging gently. Starting over isn't glamorous. It's tiring. It's uncertain. And for many women, the new chapter they envisioned feels less like a fresh start and more like a solitary road they weren't prepared to walk alone. If this feels heavy, that's because it is, and it should be. Divorce is one of life's most significant choices, and too often, it's made with one eye closed, focused on escape, blind to what's being left behind. This video isn't about blaming women for leaving difficult marriages. Some relationships are genuinely harmful, unfixable, or abusive, and leaving them is an act of courage and self-preservation. But many women later confess, "I didn't realize what I was walking away from until I was already gone." The financial freedom they imagined came with financial strain. The peace they sought felt lonelier than expected, and the promises of a brighter future didn't materialize as quickly or as fully as they had hoped. This isn't bitterness, it's clarity. So if you or someone you care about is contemplating this step, pause. Ask deeper questions. Reflect on these truths before you decide. Because freedom, while beautiful, is not without cost, and wisdom means knowing both sides of the choice before making it. If you've walked this path or stood at its edge, share your experience quietly in the comments. Before I chose freedom, I chose wisdom. And remember, you're not alone in wanting peace. But peace isn't just the absence of another person. It's the presence of inner clarity,